Welcome to Alpha Insights. I'm Joe. Today we've got Drew with us, a tech sector analyst who's been watching the cannabis and psychedelics policy moves closely. Remember, if you have questions as we go, you can ask us at stockalpha.ai.
Thanks, Joe. Great to be here.
Quick headline to kick us off. Virginia lawmakers and the governor hashed out a new plan to legalize recreational marijuana sales, and it looks likely to pass this month. So, the real question here is, what changes for the market if that happens?
Right. The immediate thing to understand is this creates a brand new retail market in a big state. That means licensing windows, new retail storefronts, and state tax revenue all come into play. But the cash flow won't just appear overnight. Timing depends on how fast licensing and retail rollouts happen.
So companies might be positioned to benefit, but it's not instant payday.
Exactly. Analysts note that multi-state operators and supply chain firms could see longer-term revenue growth, but you need to model licensing timelines and excise tax language to estimate margins and market size.
Markets reacted with measured optimism. ETFs focused on the sector, and a few big consumer names moved higher. But intraday swings were generally under about 3%. I mean, when you look at the data, it was interest without a frenzy.
Yep, trading volume picked up around the headlines, which suggests traders were pricing in policy-driven demand expansion. But price action stayed in normal ranges for a sector reacting to regulation.
Interesting.
Right.
Switching gears. North Carolina has bipartisan support to fund psychedelic research aimed at helping military veterans. That's research funding, not recreational legalization. How should listeners think about that?
This is significant because it signals growing political willingness to fund clinical study of alternative therapeutics. That can open partnerships between universities, hospitals, and companies that do clinical stage work. For some firms, research grants or contracts could be an early revenue pathway or at least a de-risking signal for clinical pipelines.
So it's more about the science and potential future therapies than immediate consumer sales.
Exactly. And it also broadens the narrative for the sector, from consumer cannabis products to regulated medical research.
Let's talk federal context. The Department of Justice issued guidance earlier this year to reschedule certain cannabis products. But Washington state regulators said that guidance doesn't appear to apply to state-licensed businesses. What's the takeaway?
The big point is that federal moves and state regulatory frameworks aren't always aligned. Washington's clarification reduces immediate uncertainty for its licensed operators, but the split highlights ongoing complexity around interstate commerce, banking, and FDA pathways. Analysts suggest watching any follow-up guidance closely because that could change the operating landscape.
Okay, public health story. High Times ran a piece urging a nuanced discussion about smoke, vape cartridges, and lung health. I was honestly a bit surprised by this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. The article stresses that risks aren't black and white. From an investor perspective, health reporting can change consumer behavior and invite regulators to restrict certain product forms. Companies with diversified product lines, edibles, tinctures, inhaler technologies, or strong quality controls may be better positioned if demand shifts away from combustibles in some vape formats.
So it's both a consumer trend and a potential regulatory trigger.
Correct. Data suggests that product form risks can drive policy responses, which in turn affect revenue mix for operators.
Practically speaking, what should listeners be watching over the next few weeks?
Watch the Virginia legislative roll calls and the implementation schedule. Licensing windows and tax rates will tell you when revenue might actually start. Track North Carolina's budget negotiations for any pilot research grants. Follow federal agencies for clarifications on rescheduling scope and enforcement. And keep an eye on public health studies that could lead to product restrictions.
Any particular names or funds that tend to move on these stories?
Analysts often watch policy-linked ETFs like the MSOS ETF and major operators such as Tilray, Curaleaf, Green Thumb, and others that trade on regulatory and sentiment shifts. But remember, liquidity and news flow matter. Regulatory language can cause rapid re-ratings.
Final quick reactions. Short take?
Policy momentum is a positive, but implementation details will determine winners. Federal complexity remains a risk. Public health reporting could reshuffle product demand.
Great. Thanks, Drew.
My pleasure.
Key takeaways for listeners. First, Virginia's move is a real market expansion story, but it's timing dependent. Second, North Carolina's funding push broadens the sector toward medical research. Third, federal clarifications and health reporting are wildcards you should monitor closely. If you have questions about anything we discussed today, you can ask us directly at stockalpha.ai. We answer listener questions live. And for more market insights, head over to stockalpha.ai.